Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Andrea Greiner.
And I'm Katie Corbin.
Welcome to the Dreams to Dollars podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs and professionals who are on their way to actualizing their dreams into reality.
Join us in this lighthearted and unique podcast where we talk about business, success, life, and building a deeper trust in God and the universe.
We are here to elevate the conversation and bring the magic to build your legacy.
We're excited for you to be here. Can't wait to dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode on prioritizing you beyond your nails. Now, if you know us, we like to be a little sassy and a little catchy, and we're super grateful for you to be here. And I always want to do a little shout out to wherever you are in your day, in your journey, in your business. Maybe you're a solopreneur, maybe you're building that 8-team business beyond into millions, like wherever you are. We just want to check in and say, thank you for listening. And we just imagine you kind of sitting down with a cup of tea or doing the dishes even or walking. Katie and I both have younger kids, so we're often out driving, listening to podcasts. And, wherever you are, we're just really grateful for you listening to this. And if you love it, please feel free to share it, to follow us on YouTube. We're really building this movement and making it real, right? The reality of creating your dreams, creating dreams into dollars and being okay with that, creating the impact, your business, all of that. And part of that, wherever you are in your business, if you're a 50K business to a 5 million to a 50 billion business, prioritizing you is going to matter. There's that, the term that everyone knows, which is self-care. And at this point, I'm a little tired of hearing self-care because we could say, well, I went and did my nails, but you could have done your nails and been on your phone the whole time. And was that really self-care? Now, for me, I like to get my nails done occasionally. It's self-care because I would go read a book. I loved the massage. It was I was away from the home. I recharge alone. So it did give me some recharge, but there's a lot of other things. This is more of, I would almost say, and I would love to hear what you think too, Katie, is this is actually more of a mindset. This is a building of how you're thinking of prioritizing yourself. It involves how you show up in your relationships, how you show up with your business, how you show up with your clients, because ultimately what you're telling the universe when you prioritize yourself is that I matter. And when you matter, ironically, you start to receive more of what you're asking for because you're prioritizing you. And it's a little bit backwards from everything we've been taught. And Katie and I are women. So if you're a man listening, you may have a different perspective. But as women, as mothers, and even sometimes as wives, that if you were, heaven forbid, you prioritize yourself, someone else should come first, right? And that's not true. Your tank has to be full in order for you to show up in the home with your kids, with your business, with your clients. And we're here to kind of help with that mindset shift. And no matter where you are on your journey, I can guarantee there's steps you can take to have your health and your body. I'm going to talk a little bit teeny more just for a second because I'm so jazzed about your body. And this little saying that came up just today was your health, your body is your greatest asset. And why is it on the bottom of your list? Because if you don't have this body, you're dead. So it's you're somewhere else, right? Or whatever you believe as far as that, the energetic spiritual world. But your body is literally your greatest asset. And how many of you have the health and the prioritization on the bottom of your list? So let's dive in. What do you got, Katie?
It's the same thing, the concept of, you can't pour from an empty cup. There's nothing in the cup. What are you going to give to anybody? So,
Yeah.
and it's really true. And sometimes we can get so, when I say we, I mean, I've experienced this in my lifetime where you get so focused on everything else externally around you, whether that's your business or your sales or your clients or your family or whatever it is. And then you actually end up burnt out and not able to give anything else, right? It's like everything's being taken from, and we're responsible for that ultimately because nobody is making you have an empty cup other than yourself. You could say, well, I have a lot of priorities and I have a lot of things on my plate right now. Well, absolutely. But do you have 20 minutes in the morning that you could get up early and do something for yourself? I want to pretty much guarantee that most people can do that to some degree. Even if it's like, well, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. Well, can you get up at 3:40 a.m. and take a little bit of time for yourself? Well, or maybe sleep a little bit later. I mean, that could also be a part of self-care. So we want to say that getting your nails done and doing your hair and, getting these, what would they be called? They're almost like cosmetic type of things is really important, right? Because the way that we see ourselves externally really matters. The way you feel about yourself really matters. But there's things beyond that that are even, I would say, even more important to your longevity in business. And some of that is things like having boundaries around your time. How are you utilizing your time? And it could even be like, well, I'm in my business this time to this time, but then when you get home, are you also doing emails? Are you answering clients like outside of the window of time? Like that's actually going to burn you out over the longevity of time. It doesn't mean you can't answer it sometimes if there's like an emergency or, you're outside the window, but if you're not prioritizing that part of what we would consider sort of self-care and self-preservation is more what I think of it as, like preserving self. So I am not this blob of energy that has, wake up in the morning and feel so tired every day. That's not going to be conducive to your business. And if you are the CEO, whether you're the solopreneur that has you in your business and you've created more of a job for yourself, that is not going to be conducive to the future because you are the greatest asset. Just like Andrea said, your body's the greatest asset. Well, guess what? You are also the greatest asset to your business. And that's also important. So if you don't prioritize those boundaries and get really clear on what even rejuvenates you, because rejuvenation is very different for some people, even an extrovert versus an introvert. Extroverts may rejuvenate in social situations. They may have to go out and be social versus more of an introvert. I tend to be more of like an ambivert where I'm kind of in between or ambivert. Like I can be very extroverted, but I'm also an introvert. Like I need time to recharge. And you have to sort of figure that out for yourself. Like what does actually recharge you? And then if you're doing the opposite, you're going to actually burn yourself out. So you have to get clear on your priorities on what is self-care to me and how do I do that? How am I carving out time in my day, my week, my year to actually get those rejuvenation, properties from it?
Yeah, and what I love about this, and well, of course, I like our points of view because I like us, but it's like we're mothers, right? We're busy. I don't meditate for an hour. So sometimes what happens is people hear like meditate, mindfulness, like whatever's happening on Instagram. Oh, they're saying I need to do yoga and I need to meditate and I need to do this and that. I'm like, no, like we've created a formula that's like, I get you're a busy mom. Or I get you're a busy social being. I like people, but I recharge alone. I have a herd of three kids. I'm like, me going to the store by myself actually re-energizes me because I'm like, ooh, I get to like listen to what I want and whatever and that kind of thing. But what we're talking about here, I love that Katie said 20 minutes, 20 minutes a day. And if it's getting for me more like sleep, I'm still recharging my sleep. So 4:30, it'd be like, oh hell no, that does not work for me. Now, evening, or do I do something in the middle of the day? Right? Like, where could I fit even 2 10-minute things? And I love what Katie also said is this boundary on time. And we find this with our clients. They're like, oh, I'm texting all day long. Or we're like, what? Like, no, like time block, like, shoop, no social media. I'm creating my projects. Shoop. As much as you're going out, sometimes we don't, I still want to keep this short, but like, what do you really need to regenerate and rejuvenate? And even that question alone, for me, sleep is very important still. My adrenals are still catching up from having three kids, so sleep is like, I like my evenings a little quieter. I like, that's really where, the kids go to bed early so that I can have some time alone. But it's also not, I'm not looking at social media as my measurement of what's regenerating me, right? Because I don't have the capacity right now to meditate for an hour. That's not realistic. So we also want your, your list to be realistic, right? Because I used to be like, add 5 things and then I didn't do any of them. And then I go into like, oh, wow, I'm like, I'm a failure because I didn't do those things, right? It's like, make it realistic. 10 to 20 minutes. What would that look like? Now, I want to go into this time boundary thing because one way, we're very, I would say we're dopamine like deficient because we're on social media. So, one way to even just kind of chill out your nervous system is to turn off your notifications. Maybe I have a few things, but I'm not getting Facebook notifications. I'm not getting Instagram notifications. I'm not getting any social media, actually, not even my mail. I check my mail a few times in a day and that's it. Like it's not this constant when you're in the world of like constant pinging on your consciousness. That is freaking exhausting. That's not regenerating. That's not rejuvenating. That's not relaxing. It's actually meant to drain your energy. And so sometimes you might do like an overhaul look at like where are my greatest energy leaks? Are you waking up and right on your scroll?
Are other people's thoughts entering into your consciousness right when you wake up? Or are
Or
you
if you're not
allowing
sleeping in the middle of the night, or
right. Are you allowing time for you to actually get up and look at the sun and be like, "Wow, this is a really great morning," and maybe have like a slower morning versus getting up and, doing something that's really going to spike your adrenaline in the morning and then you're sort of coming down off of that all day. The other thing I wanted to say on this is how I usually view my schedule is sacred to me. Like the things that I put on my schedule are my choices, right? Besides like things I have to do, but in my business it's my choice to schedule out the way that I am conducting business. So if you see your schedule actually as a sacred contract to yourself, you know that what you're putting in your schedule is important to you or your family, right? If you're taking your kids to sports or you're taking them to school or whatever it is, a lot of people that I talk to will say like their schedule is so busy. Like they're taking their one kid to piano on Monday and then they're going to this thing on Tuesday and then they're going this thing. Like, yeah, maybe if you're very, very extroverted and that really fills you up, but I find that most people that have that type of mentality tend to get burned out over time. Like, oh, I can't do anything. And then they end in almost like adrenaline crisis where they're having a healing crisis and they're going through chronic disease because they've basically overbooked themselves to the brim and they can't find any space for themselves. So don't underestimate sometimes the capacity to have like a slow morning or a slower day and you're like, well, I'm going to fill that with, something like massage for body work or acupuncture or working on your supplement regime with your naturopath or whatever it is, doing a float, doing cryo, right? There's so many things out there now. And you can actually choose what feels best for you at that season in your life because sometimes that actually can ebb and flow. I love acupuncture. Clearly, I'm very biased towards acupuncture. I found that acupuncture for me has rejuvenated me at many points in my life, and I still continue to do it, obviously. But it's something that's like built in me that I will continue to do for probably the rest of my life. So when you find those things that really help to rejuvenate you from the inside out, that's going to be even better than getting, your nails done over time, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's awesome. Like I like doing that. Manicures, pedicures, spas, those are all amazing. But what are you doing on the daily that's going to lead you into like self-care is a priority for me. And actually, again, I really don't like the word self-care. It's more like preservation or conservation or vitality, right? Like the self-vitality. And I want to have the body that I have in 20 years. So what is it going to take for me to continue to feel really good into 80s and 90s? Maybe even live to 100. But I think that just narrowing that down and knowing that what that is for you is very important.
I think of relaxation because it's not something just like you talked about all those people running, doing piano, doing soccer, doing this, doing that. And it's like, where is relaxation in any of that?
Our kids are kids either. Like
Right.
our kids are just going to go on playing the
Right.
pool and the dirt and stuff like that
Right.
versus doing
Right.
all these activities that just burn
Oh
you and your
yeah.
family out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's actually one reason we moved to Mexico was, and there's even some families that do that. They're like going to all these things. And I'm sort of like, wow, that's exhausting. I'm exhausted watching you. I'm
Me
like,
too.
we play soccer in the neighborhood. They are out
Yeah.
all day long. They're at the pool 3 times a day. They're pretty much outside. So I asked this question on social media the other week, and it was really interesting. I was a picture of myself by the pool, and I was like, how many of you have integrated relaxation into your day? And none of them.
No
None.
comments.
0%. No, yeah, it was like I think I did like a yes, no, or 100%, 100% no. No, I do not. I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna talk more about this. And this is kind of a beginning place for this. Is like we were not trained that relaxation was okay. Like someone could walk by and see me at the pool and be like, God, she's so lazy. She should be working. She should be calling all her clients or like whatever, right? So it's like, wow, actually that rejuvenates me when I'm out in the pool by the sun. Like I get, downloads or I'm in the water. Like that's so like we could change the planet if we integrated more relaxation into our lives. And again, it's not hours and hours. And what is relaxation? It's like I'm aware of if I'm reading a book, checking out and sort of going into dopamine, another spiral of whatever I'm reading, or if it's like if I'm in that mood, I'll actually be like, no reading, just chill by the beach or chill by the pool or chill by the beach. Like, don't put your brain into something else. Like, open up and just be with the ocean and the waves, right? Like, what would that look like? And again, y'all don't have to move to Mexico, but you can if you want because it's really fun. No, it's like
Not the worst
what?
place in the world.
It's not the worst place. So I want to kind of put this a little bit in of like, again, it's not hours and hours. What would it be to relax for 5 minutes a day? Katie used preserve, and it's like it could be re-energize or relax because that's really when we're, in my mind, deeper connected to source, to our what we are receiving, to the present moment, to the now. Like the now and our bodies are really where we can create the more from. But when we fill up everything and we don't prioritize ourselves, we're like running like rats in the race, which is part of why we created Dreams to Dollars, to create your dream from a place where you can enjoy it in all aspects.
Yeah, and the other aspect of this is the funny social concept of like work your whole life and take 1 week vacation. Like make sure that you're
Or
working
10 days or yeah.
53 whatever 51 weeks a year and then you get 1 week to relax, right? And then people are like waiting for this like relaxation time. It's
Oh no.
almost like sad
And
and
if you have
comical a little
kids
bit.
you go on like that is not a vacation. That's
It's
not a
never
vacation.
never a
No,
vacation when you're going
no.
to Disneyland for
You're like,
a
what the
week.
fuck was that?
Yeah, you go to Disneyland for a week to relax
You spend
and
10K on a vacation and then you're like, what? I'm more tired now. I'm
you
more
have to
tired
come back and take a vacation from your
from your
vacation.
vacation.
So
Yeah.
where can you actually build that
Yeah.
into your regular regime? I'm not saying go to Disneyland and do all these things. Well, hey, if you want to do trips very regularly, then
Yeah.
choose that for yourself. If that's what rejuvenates you too as well. We take my family, I like to travel. I like to do things. I like to be able to see things as part of the experience of life. So if I don't have that like carved in to my schedule, I feel a little bit shriveled up. So it's an important thing, I think, for a lot of people, instead of just the idea and the concept, like, well, if you work so hard and then you can relax, like
Yeah.
after,
Work, 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 work. Work, work, work,
then
work, work.
relax.
Yeah.
What you're saying, where you carve it into your day and you're like, okay, so what would even make me relax? And that would be the question. Some people relax maybe meditating, other people might have to do some kind of activity, a walk or anything, right? To allow yourself to just be versus actually like doing anything.
And I love that you said that about vacation because even today I do get a massage once a week. That's part of like hands down and today is usually the day. And I was like, do I want to massage or like go lay on the beach? And the lay on the beach actually felt a lot lighter. And I will bring a book because I like reading and I like writing on the beach. And you can ask, what's going to be more relaxing or rejuvenating or whatever that energy is, and follow that. Like, what would be, just like Katie said, what would be more relaxing? And I want to add another thing. When we first moved to Mexico, it took about 3 weeks for my nervous system to be like, I don't have to pack and leave. And to be like, to still watch people like, we're going on a vacation. I'm like, but what if your life felt like a vacation? Now, I love what Katie talks about. She's, going somewhere. We go somewhere every weekend. We're like out, we're going to new beaches or whatever. But like, what if you didn't have to escape from your life on a vacation?
Yes.
That's something where I'd always be like, but why? Because then you're like spending $10,000 to escape from your life that then you need another vacation. It's like, what if you created relaxation in your life and you didn't ever feel like you had to escape it?
That's an important question to ask, especially for entrepreneurs that tend to, we can get really consumed by our business because, it sometimes can just determine whether or not we feel successful on the monthly or the weekly or the yearly basis. So if you're allowing yourself to redefine your own definition of what success looks like to you, and success would be like, well, okay, well, I have this ability to carve out this time for myself or my family. That is part of my success plan. It's not to dig my grave at 80 hours a week to make the money that I desire and then take a vacation once a year. So you actually get to define for our listeners, you get to choose and define what this means to you. And even start to ask the question, what does self-care mean to me? Or what does self-relaxation or preservation or whatever word you want to put in there? What is that like to me? And then how can I carve that in and make it an actual priority versus making it something the easiest thing you can drop, right? Sometimes I feel like the easiest thing you can drop is meditation, or the easiest thing you can drop is that relaxation because you're like, oh, I don't really need that. But what if you actually make it the priority to your week, your day, your year?
And I mean, like, even the question, what would my life be like if it always felt like a vacation? I mean, like, because then you would love your clients, then you would love your schedule, then you would set up something that worked for, it's like, it's so taboo to be like, have leisure time. Because you know what happens in leisure time? Oh my God, you get like epiphanies and ideas and like you connect with people and, you build community and all of that. So let us know what you think. How are you going to prioritize you? And again, we're saying like 10 to 20 minutes. What would 10 to 20 minutes shifting, maybe where you're scrolling? Like Katie and I just recently were like, man, social media, like, ugh, like literally much more time direct in how we love social media, it generates our business. And also, how can we be very conscious with it? And grateful for it and all those other things, right? So 10 to 20 minutes, what would you add? What would you take away? What would create rejuvenating sensations and relaxation for you? And get back to us. Let us know. Share here, share on our YouTube. We're all over the place and let us know what's coming up for you.
Thank you for listening to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. If you vibe with our content and want to find out how to work with us, check out our show notes for the links.